Have you ever felt her pulling away, but somehow at the exact same time, you feel her thinking about you more than ever? That quiet tension, that emotional confusion, it's not distance. It's not a romance. And it's something much deeper, and most men completely misread it. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and like this video because what you're about to hear might change the way you see her and every woman forever. Listen closely. When a woman starts falling hard, truly, deeply, uncontrollably, she doesn't always move closer. Sometimes she does the exact opposite. She creates space. She becomes quieter, a little colder, less predictable. And if you don't understand why, you'll think she's losing interest, when in reality, she's fighting feelings that are starting to consume her. You see, attraction is easy, but emotional attachment, that's dangerous territory for her. Because once she feels too much, she risks losing control. And control for a woman is safety. So, when she begins to feel that pull towards you, that emotional gravity she can't fully explain, her instinct isn't always to run into your arms. Sometimes it's to step back and observe oneself starts all means seem to you on me. To protect herself, to test whether what she's feeling is real or just another illusion that could hurt her. This is where most men fail. They panic, they chase harder, text more, demand clarity, and in doing so, they unknowingly push her further away. But a man who understands female psychology sees through the surface. He notices the contradictions. He feels the shift. He realizes that distance isn't always rejection. It can be emotional overwhelm. And that's exactly what we're uncovering today. Because there are signs, subtle, almost invisible signs that reveal when she's not just interested, but falling hard for you even while acting distant. These signs aren't obvious. They're hidden in her behavior, her tone, her silence, and even in the way she pulls away. If you learn to recognize them, you'll stop second-guessing yourself. You'll stop chasing. And more importantly, you'll start understanding her on a level most men never reach. So, stay with me, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you respond the next time she goes quiet. There's a moment, subtle, almost invisible, where her distance isn't coldness, it's calculation. Not manipulation, but protection. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice something strange. Even while she's pulling away, she never fully lets you go. She still responds. You see our reach you full sign? Maybe slower, maybe shorter, but she responds. That's your first sign. A woman who is truly losing interest doesn't maintain threads of connection. She doesn't leave doors slightly open. But when she's falling hard, she can't cut you off completely, even if part of her thinks she should. So instead, she creates controlled distance. She limits access not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much. And here's where it gets deeper. You'll notice she starts remembering small details about you. Things you casually mentioned, things even you forgot you said. Your random preferences, your offhand stories, the way you reacted to something insignificant. Why? Because when a woman is emotionally invested, her mind locks onto you even when she's trying not to. She may not text you all day, but she's replaying your last conversation in her iHead. She's analyzing your tone, your words, your energy, trying to understand what you really meant and what you feel about her. And that creates tension inside her. Because the more she thinks about you, the more real it becomes. And the more real it becomes, the more vulnerable she feels. So what does she do? She pulls back. EQ round or fouls old ram. But here's the contradiction that reveals everything. When she does come back, even briefly, her energy feels different, more present, more intentional. almost like she's trying to reconnect without admitting she missed you. That sudden warmth after distance, that's not random. That's emotional leakage. She can't fully hide what she feels, so it slips out in moments. A slightly longer reply, a question she didn't need to ask, a message that feels just a little more personal than before. Most men overlook this. They focus on the gaps, the silence, the inconsistency. But the truth isn't in how often she shows up. It's in how she shows up when she does. Because a woman who feels nothing shows nothing. But a woman who's falling while trying to stay in control reveals herself in fragments. And if you can read those fragments, you start to see the full picture forming underneath. There's something else she starts doing, and it confuses almost every man who experiences it. She begins to test you. Not in obvious ways, not with dramatic games or loud challenges, but in quiet, subtle moments where your reaction matters more than your words. She might take longer to reply just to see if you become impatient. She might cancel a plan to see if you get emotional or stay grounded. She might act slightly indifferent, watching closely to see if your confidence shakes. And if you misunderstand this, you'll think she's playing with you. But she's not playing. She's measuring. Because when a woman starts falling hard, she isn't just asking herself, "Do I like him?" She's asking something much deeper. Is he safe for my emotions? Can he handle me at my most vulnerable? Will he stay consistent or collapse under pressure? You have to understand this. Attraction pulls her in, but trust decides whether she stays. And trust is built in moments where she feels uncertain. That's why her distance increases, right? When her feelings deepen, she's observing you more than ever. Watching how you react when things aren't perfect, when communication isn't smooth, when she isn't giving you constant reassurance. And here's the truth most men aren't ready to hear. If you become needy in those moments, you confirm her fears. If you chase harder, demand answers, or are none far in all our son or now, show insecurity. She doesn't feel closer to you. She feels unsafe. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're showing her that your emotional state depends on her behavior. And that's pressure. Pressure kills attraction. But a man who stays calm, centered, unaffected by temporary distance, that man stands out because he communicates something powerful without saying a word. I'm here. I'm steady. And I'm not shaken by uncertainty. That energy does something to her. It relaxes her defenses. It makes her feel like she doesn't have to control everything because you're not unpredictable. And slowly she starts letting go of that distance. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Because now she's not just feeling something for you, she's starting to trust it. And trust is where everything changes. Then something shifts. You reach down and chew each eat sound for, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it completely. She starts opening windows into her world, but only for a moment. Not full access, not complete transparency, just small glimpses. A personal story she didn't have to share. A memory from her past that carries emotion. A detail about her fears, her stress, her family. Something real. And then, just as quickly as she opens up, she pulls back again. That inconsistency confuses most men. One day she feels warm, almost vulnerable. The next day she's distant, guarded, harder to read. But this isn't random behavior. This is emotional exposure followed by self-protection. Because every time she lets you see something real, she feels it afterward. She replays it in her mind. Did I say too much? Did I show too much? Does he see me differently now? Then reach you, breathe home, or over suffering. And when those thoughts hit, her instinct is to retreat. Not because she regrets you, but because she's trying to regain control of herself. You have to understand what that means. A woman who isn't emotionally invested doesn't risk vulnerability. She keeps everything surface level, light conversations, safe topics, no emotional depth. But when she starts revealing pieces of her inner world, even briefly, that's not casual interest. That's emotional movement. And here's where most men make a critical mistake. They rush it. They push for more. They try to force deeper conversations, thinking it will bring her closer faster. But that pressure does the opposite. It makes her feel exposed without safety. And when that happens, she shuts down completely. But a man who understands this dynamic does something different. He receives what she gives without demanding more. He listens without trying to fix. He acknowledges without overwhelming. And most importantly, he stays emotionally stable when she pulls back again. That stability sends her a message she can feel. I can open up to him, and I won't lose control. So, watching in some all, and that's rare because most people don't create that kind of space. But when she feels it with you, something changes internally. Her distance becomes shorter. Her entire percent reamer air, her openness becomes more frequent, and slowly those small windows she opens start turning into doors. Now, you'll notice something even more confusing. And I ain't in shy, and this is where most men start overthinking everything. She starts watching you more than she talks to you. You might not realize it at first, but her attention shifts into observation mode. She notices your routines. She pays attention to your consistency. She tracks how you treat other people. And she becomes aware of things you never directly showed her. Because when a woman is falling hard, her interest stops being only emotional and becomes psychological. She's trying to figure you out, not just who you are when you're talking to her, but who you are when she's not around. And here's the twist most men miss completely. Even while she's acting distant, she's still emotionally invested in your presence. That's why she checks your social media. That's why she views your stories without replying. That's why she stays slightly connected, even when she's pretending to step back. It's not curiosity, it's attachment. But here's where it becomes even more complex. She won't always show consistency. One day, she may seem completely uninterested. The next day, she might engage with something small you posted, almost like nothing ever changed. That emotional inconsistency isn't confusion, it's internal conflict. It's down in Chaya's sun because part of her wants to move closer, and another part is afraid of what happens if she does. So she stays in the middle, not fully in, not fully out. And this is the space where most men lose control. They start analyzing every action, every delay, every reaction. They try to decode her like a puzzle, but the truth is simpler than that. She's not testing you with logic. Chi what in Chi I, she's processing you emotionally. And emotions don't move in straight lines, they move in waves. So when she pulls away, it doesn't mean the connection is gone. It means the emotional intensity is rising, and she's trying to regulate it. A man who understands this doesn't panic at inconsistency. He recognizes it is part of the process. He doesn't chase the high moments. He stays steady through the low ones, and that steadiness becomes the anchor she didn't know she needed. There is a moment she will never announce, but you will feel it if you are paying attention. She starts getting emotionally softer around you. Not in a loud or obvious way, but in the gaps, in the pauses before she responds, in the way her tone changes when she's tired, in the small moments where she stops trying to manage how she comes across. And this is important because a woman who is not emotionally invested will always manage her image with you. She will stay controlled, guarded, and slightly distant no matter what. But when she starts falling hard, that control begins to slip. She may still act distant at times, yes, but it's no longer clean distance. It's conflicted distance. You might notice she starts asking you questions that don't have a practical purpose. Not because she needs information, but because she wants connection. She might check in on your day in a way that feels casual but carries emotional weight. Or she might engage with you late at night when her defenses are lower. That's not random timing. That's emotional vulnerability when her mind is quieter and her guard is down. And here's the deeper layer most men never see. She starts remembering how you make her feel. Not just what you say, but your presence, your energy, your consistency. And that memory begins to pull her back towards you even when her behavior says distance. This is why she can act cold in one moment and warm in another, because she is no longer experiencing you as just a person. She is experiencing you as an emotional imprint. And imprints don't disappear just because someone steps away. But there is a critical turning point here. If she senses desperation from you during this phase, she will retreat. Again, not because she doesn't feel something, but because she needs to protect the fragile balance she's trying to maintain inside herself. But if she senses calmness, if she senses emotional stability, if she feels you are not trying to force closeness, something powerful happens. Her entire percent reamer air, her resistance lowers. Not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly. And that quiet shift is where real emotional attachment begins to lock in, because now she's not just thinking about you. She's starting to feel safe with the idea of you staying in her emotional world. And now we reach the part most men never fully understand, because it doesn't look like love at first. It looks like inconsistency. It looks like mixed signals. It looks like she's almost there, but not fully committing to you emotionally in a clear, direct way. But what's actually happening is far more psychological. She is attaching while still trying to protect herself from the fact that she is attaching, and that creates a very specific pattern. She comes closer, then steps back. She opens up, then closes again. She shows interest, then suddenly acts neutral. But if you zoom out, the direction is always the same, toward you, not away. And this is where the eighth and most important sign reveals itself. She starts to include you in her emotional future thinking without realizing she's doing it. She might mention plans indirectly. She might reference next time without commitment. She might casually imagine scenarios where you are still present in her life. These are not accidents. This is her mind rehearsing emotional continuity with you. Because when a woman is truly falling hard, she doesn't just feel you in the present. She starts projecting you into her future emotionally, even while her behavior is still catching up. But here's the final truth. Most men never hear. If you respond to her distance with insecurity, you interrupt this process. If you chase her emotional confusion, you break her internal momentum. But if you stay grounded, if you remain music steady, if you allow her to come closer in her own timing, you become something rare in her experience. You become emotionally safe. And emotional safety is what transforms attraction into attachment. Not intensity, not pressure, not persuasion, safety. And once she feels that with you, the distance stops being a wall. It becomes a doorway she chooses to walk through, and that is when everything changes, quietly, permanently, and without force.